Guys, we're back. We're back. NCAA football comes out in about a month. And I just need to tell my fellow 30-year-olds who I'm going to guess do not play video games as often as I do. You're not ready for what these kids have been developing over the past 10 years in terms of stick skills. You're not ready, okay? So, just huddle up with your buddies, play some online head-to-heads. But if you think that you're about to go, if you haven't played one of these games in 10 years, don't think that you're about to just come up on these head-to-heads and beat some cracked out teenager. It doesn't work like that anymore.
It doesn't.
Okay? It doesn't. Now, Nate joined our Madden franchise league late and had a lot of success. But I will say, we're all about the same age in there.
Yeah.
So when you come up against some 16-year, you are the oldest. But you're not too far above Steve. So, or actually, Dylan might be as old as you.
Okay. All right. God.
Yeah.
30.
About the same age.
I'm not gonna say the exact age. 30-something.
30-something. 30-something.
30-something.
But also not as 30-something as you would think listening to this.
Young heart. Young soul.
Young heart. Young soul.
As I have movie posters, board games around me, I'm just a child. It's like I had a son just have somebody play.
My background has Ant-Man in it right now.
True. It's true. I know. I had a son just so I could have a board game playing partner in 5 years and 7 years. Just that's it. That was the main reason. Just so I had somebody that can't say no.
Son turned 7. Hey, Monopoly? Hey. No, you can't say no.
Take it a ride. What else you got to do? You ain't going to Timmy's house. Who's driving you? I will say though, the video game thing. I was intimidated getting into that Madden league because I hadn't played in 7 years, and I was like most of the. I even said it after I started playing some people online. I was like, cheese is the cheese. It's the same cheese as the new cheese. Same exact stuff that people tried back in the day. So they still try now. There's little tweaks to it and everything. But I'll say, people, anyone pays attention to esports, our friend Derek Klassen probably knows it the best, but those guys peak at like 22. Like there's not a lot of late 20s esport players because you just have to be so quick-minded. So now think about that, and then getting into these games where you can now do so much with stick skills. So yeah, I agree with you that I'm a little intimidated getting into the NCAA jungles. I might just stick it to my little 5-man circle or league that we might do.
I've noticed as I get older, video games are definitely getting a little bit harder for me. So one thing that last week when I was on family vacation, whenever I had some time to myself, I was playing the God of War game that came out in 2018. And I played that game on like the second hardest difficulty. And I started off doing that. I started doing that I tried to start doing that for my replay where I was playing on the second hardest difficulty, and I was getting my ass kicked in a way that I wasn't like 4 or 5 years ago when it first came out. So then I had to start like ticking the difficulty down a little bit and playing with the settings to make it a little easier for me. I'm like, damn, this is what 30 is? I've lost it. Lost it. I'm not as good as video games as I used to be.
I'm not. My exposure to that, well, that's why I got out of Call of Duty. It was just like, I in college, I could already see my stick skills slipping. And so I was like, I'm going to find a new game. Overwatch was a great game for me because I didn't have to worry about being like high twitch shooter and getting headshots. I could just run around as my little healer guy, Lucio. And then, but it's just like once we got past that, a lot of single player games for Nate now. 30-year-old Nate is a lot of Switch games. Zelda. I think we were talking about that just right now. Hades, which is a phenomenal game. Hades 2 is coming out soon. Did you play the Guardians of the Galaxy game?
I did.
That was a fun single player game. I played that on Xbox, but that was a fun game. So by a lot of single player games, because my ego is fragile. So I just I can't get punked. And I never talk online when I do play online, but I can hear the other people. And so I just don't need a 12-year-old calling me garbage. I just don't. I got enough of that.
You need a 30-year-old calling you garbage.
Yeah. See, that's fair. That's fair. It's like you've seen enough to know that I'm garbage. You 12-year-old, you haven't seen that yet.
But this is exciting though, because like I was 19 the last time one of these games came out. And I just turned 30. So that's pretty insane. And I think that it's exciting because I think a lot of people always enjoyed some of the depth, especially as Madden got to like some of the next gen stuff on like PS4, and the later stuff, more recent stuff on PS5. I think people just miss the depth that NCAA could provide. And I'm excited for it too, because as much as I, mostly enjoy our Madden franchise
Mhm.
league, it's not as immersive as like a real NFL franchise experience should be.
Right.
Even if you're going to negotiate a contract with someone, like I can't structure it in a way where I can take advantage of, like, if I've $100 million in cap space, I can't burn like 50 million of it right here on this contract.
Right.
Which is kind of really basic stuff. There's no restricted free agents. The contracts aren't correct. It's lacking. But we know that EA is capable of more. One, because they have the funds for it. Two, because they have done it before in the past, like with the old Xbox versions, just Xbox and PS2 versions of Madden, where they had like the radio show
Yeah.
with Tony Bruno and all the depth that they would have in the league, where they would make like magazine covers for what was going on. That was cool. And that was a lot less technology than we currently have right now. So I really feel like, I know Madden's on like a year-to-year development cycle, and that's going to rush things, but no, this is PS5. There's no reason that an Xbox experience from 20 years ago should be more immersive. So I really hope that they get it right. And there's just a lot of things to fix for Madden, where that game is right now.
Yeah. And after playing when COVID, during the pandemic, during lockdown, I started playing Warzone, Call of Duty, but then I started playing NBA 2K for the first time in years, and playing in a league with other friends and a franchise with other friends, and putting that all together and realizing how deep that went. And then going, trying to play Madden and going like,
yeah.
Oh my God. Like, and so that was like a breath of fresh air. And that's what, I mean, NFL is even more like that. You can get into that. I appreciate they have practice squads and stuff like that, but there's just so much more that you could dive into. The fact, I mean, I've always wanted like a football manager version of the NFL, an NFL video game. I know they had the NFL head coach game with Tony Dungy on it, but it was just, I don't know. It's just, there's so much you could do that's not even just on field stuff. You could literally do a franchise mode, not even play one game in the game thing, and still have a ton of fun if you do it right.
Oh yes.
And that's, yeah, I feel like they just, there's so much meat they leave on the bone. And I get it that they pump it out every year, but it's like, oh, can't you just pump out one version and just update it every year, with roster stuff until you have a new version? I know, but they don't make money that way. but I know, sell it for $10. Go like, hey, we're going to update the rosters. It's $9.99. That's what the DLC is.
I'll pay for that.
I would too, as long as the underlying system's good. And I think that's why glass half full a little bit. I don't even know if it's half, maybe a third full about NCAA, is that they took a while to develop it, and they took some time to build it up, and it's on the next gen console and everything. So it's just, that is why I'm a little more optimistic, because they just took a deep breath before developing this, because I don't know, there's just, Madden's, even playing it this year, I was like, oh, the gameplay is actually pretty fun. But like, after hearing what other people have said for the last like 6-7 years, it was just all the off, like it was always just all the game management stuff. Like contract negotiation stuff. I had a 5th-year option guy, and I was so frustrated with him. I was like, I want to lock you up. Like, why? I can only just accept it. Like, no, I want to extend you. You can't get creative. Yeah, all those things. Unless you're Justice, then he just breaks the game.
Speaking of Justice, he told me the other day that he has some NCAA codes to give away. So if you want to get in on that game, and I think we're going to have a little online dynasty too, just tweet at Jumosq, JUMOSQ. See if you can get a code from him, and then ask him for the sign up sheet so that you can play with us.
Perfect.
When the game comes out in a month. Now, just one of the biggest problems that I've had with Madden, especially, is because we were talking before about like big run game enthusiasts and how much we like to run the ball. It's so hard to develop an O-line.
Yeah,
it's so hard because there's no drills. One, there's no drills for them. Which is like, come on. You tell me you couldn't just do like a little lead blocking game,
or like a Guitar Hero thing where you have to like press every button, like right hand, left hand, right hand, left hand, like something like that. Just like a timing based drill or something. Yeah.
Just not trying. Let's call it what it is. You're just not trying on that one. Literally every other position has one except for offensive line. You're just not trying. So that's kind of frustrating, especially like if you're going to market the game, or not market the game, but like make the game in a way where this year offensive line play is like actually really, really important in a way that's kind of hard to get around. Especially when you run up against someone who's a super souped up defensive line or a front seven. The fact that like you draft a rookie and they kind of just get stuck at or around whatever overall, unless you're the best team in the league, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So let's fix that. Let's fix the contract stuff. I should be able to extend someone before the last year of their deal.
Yes.
If I want to.
Yes.
I don't understand why that's not in the game. And there should just be some immersion. Like one thing I think that 2K did that's been really cool, because I understand like if you're a game developer, making franchise mode every year probably gets a little stale. I would have to imagine, because it's not like the CBA is changing every single year. There's only so many things you can put in there. But one thing that 2K did was cool was their eras mode, where you can start in like 1960 and basically just run your own history of the NBA as it comes. So in 1984 or 1983, the Michael Jordan draft class will pop up. In 2003, the LeBron James and D-Wade class will pop up. When you get to 2005, like the Bobcats pop up after becoming, the Hornets and stuff like that. That's cool.
Yeah, it is.
That's really cool. And you already have the licensing for everything, because you have the card games, you have the MUT. So you already have the likeness to a bunch of old players on your database. I feel like it'd be pretty easy to incorporate something like that. But I just feel like even in a year, in a world where, these sports games are kind of losing their quality a little bit, or at least losing their innovation, EA is still one of the worst ones out there. And it doesn't have to be that, because you have the most popular sport in America. You could try a little bit, just a little bit.
And a sport that has so much to it, so many layers to it. I mean, shoot, the Ray Lewis cover one, so was that 2005? I mean, that was my favorite one, but also it was like, because they emphasized defense, because now they're like, hey, the offense has had all this, but you can do this now on defense. It was like, oh, it's like so cool. But like what you're saying with the line play stuff, if you do just innovation of stuff, it's cool. You can control the line, but it's like, do the physics make sense in actual football? Some of that is that's why I kind of got away from Madden, and I get it. It's a video game and everything, but I was actually just even thinking about your kind of eras idea, because then you can go into like, if you have to play a team in 1968 or 1972, you have to use that playbook. Like, so there's like 3 pass plays in the whole playbook, or everything's just vertical. And so like the defense is only just running the most basic, kind of like 5 down defenses and stuff like that. That's like another idea for it too. It's like you kind of change up what you can run.
Whoever drafts Terry Bradshaw gets confused when he maxes out at like 77.
Wait, isn't he a Hall of Famer? Oh, that's great. That's really
okay.
Funny.
See, this is way off the beaten path. But like when people say like Joe Namath sinks, no, he was pretty damn good.
He was good.
Era.
He was
Terry Bradshaw, dude. I think you can make an argument he was way overrated for even the time he played.
Oh, you think? I mean, there's a couple of those Steelers Hall of Famers. If I really wanted to get some things going on Twitter, I'd talk about it. One of them is a very graceful man, but Mr. Lynn Swan. You ever looked at his stats? it's like really?
What a Terry.
Yeah, I know. It's like he made the cool catch in the Super Bowl. So it's like, oh, of course he's a champ. I know. Oh, the other thing Justice said too about, sorry, this is the Justice show. The tweet about the new kickoff rule. Can you imagine the developer that has to work on that for the game too? Like that's another component of all this too. But I just thought about that. Like somebody has to be the one in charge of that. Oh, another thing too. Speaking of kind of, I don't know how spicy I want to get, but over at quarterbacks, been watching some more old Joe Montana lately. He's does plenty of good things. He's still a very good quarterback. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know if I can kind of keep talking about him as a top 10 guy now. After watching some of that, I think he got a little help. I know we know this, but it is very telling when they always go Joe Montana and Bill Walsh and Jerry Rice, as opposed to it's Peyton. Oh, who was Peyton's play caller? You guys 10 sports fans or football fans, some of you would know Tom Moore. Yeah, exactly.
Tom Moore, that's right. Yeah,
Tom Moore, yeah. And then he had others, Caldwell and all that. But Tom Moore was the main guy. So it's like, but that's the thing, it's Peyton. Tom Brady had 7 different OCs and everything, and made all of them. Charlie Weiss, Josh McDaniels got all them jobs. But I don't know. After I'm watching it and knowing the innovations that Bill Walsh was doing, there's a lot of wide open Jerry Rice on those highlights. Not like some good throws. Don't get me wrong. Joe Montana was tough as hell, but a lot of wide open Jerry Rice. And there's it's kind of tainted my image of him.
Dude, so in middle school, when I was in 7th grade, one of my football coaches was Dwight Clark.
Oh,
He would murder you right now for this blasphemy that you're saying. That guy had a sailor's mouth to him. I was like 13. I'm like, are you talking to me that way?
some of those old gritty coaches, man. Yeah. No, but that was another thing, was them watching Steve Young. I could see like why they traded for him. That was my, I think I may have talked about this before. That was my all pandemic team when I watched all these old YouTube clips of highlights and games of the 80s and 90s. Watching Steve Young, I was like, why don't we talk about him as like a top 4 guy ever? Because it's just, he was phenomenal. And that was a big difference between the Montana and Young conversation for me anyways. But yeah, thank you for letting me get that take off. I can't wait to get just freaking fried for that. 49ers fans already love me enough.
This has been maybe the most June podcast I've done or listened to in a while.
We got Madden. We got Joe Montana is overrated. What else we got in here?